How often do the executives with whom you work find themselves at a crossroads? And what do those moments even look like? I mean, sometimes I'm not sure I'm really there. So I'll start with Mark and we'll go around the room. Mark, how often and can you see it when it comes, or is it kind of hard to do that sometimes?
Yeah, so thank you again. Good afternoon, everybody. So most of the executives I work with are at some form or not at a crossroad, and they know they're there two ways. One, it comes to them in that the positive end, a recruiter calls them and say, "I have an opportunity," makes them think. On the negative side, there's layoffs; they get fired. It comes to them, and sometimes they come to those in the fact that Sunday night they start looking at Monday morning and say, "Oh my gosh, oh, do I really want to do this again?" Or it may be a fallout with an executive that they work with, or it might be kind of frustration in their minds and, hey, I'm just stuck. I'm not getting to where I want to get to. So the point is that most of the executives I work with are in the midst of it or approaching it. And in terms of the metaphor of a crossroad, most roads I traveled on have intersections. So either that it comes to you or you come to it. That's when you know. And just one last point, sometimes you're going to be at a crossroad. Market changes, layoffs, you're on the acquisition side of an M&A. So that's when you might very well be approaching a crossroad. So those are the points, and work with executives through all those.
Harriet, what's your sense about this? What does it look like, and how often do the people you work with knowingly find themselves there?
I would agree with Mark. To some extent, I think it happens every time we have a new coaching engagement with an executive. It's a time to pause and question, what do I really like doing? What would I miss if it wasn't available? And therefore, what are my options? For most, gone are the days of having to find that next job, if you will. It's really finding an opportunity that feels like the right fit, where they can bring all that they are to the table, if you will. So experiences, their education, skill sets, their preferences, leadership, as well as having fun. And sometimes people who have taken a package, either willingly or sometimes not willingly, and they've sat for a moment and they go crazy. I can't play golf every day. I've got to find something to do. But what that something looks like differs for each individual.
Sandra, what's your sense about this?
Well, yesterday when we had our staff meeting, you asked us to gather some data on this. And, I decided to dig through my files, and I looked, and in the 7 years that I've been with ExecuNet, I've talked to close to 2,700 executives at a clip of between 2 and 3 a day. And I went through and briefly looked at some of the scenarios that were popping into my mind. And it seems like, and I didn't go through every single one of them, but I went through a couple hundred, and I can tell you that about half of the people that have been, that are not in a role right now, either there's been an exit and they've got some sort of a package, or there've been a reorg and they've got some sort of a package, or it was just a successful exit and they had equity. They realize that they're at this point in their life where they've gone through their whole career and they've gone to the next and gone to the next and gone to the next. And it's about half of the time in those scenarios, they come up for air and they say, wow, let me take a second here before I just go to the next thing and think about what I really want to do and what I want this last chapter to look like. That doesn't necessarily mean the last job, but usually it's what do I want the capstone of my career to look like, and how can I be intentional? And they start asking themselves questions that they've never really asked before. So that's about half of the time that they start asking themselves the question. And it's interesting because especially when our coaches get involved, like Harriet and Mark, they get the opportunity to really dig into where those desires are.